2, mock7. Pay attention. And the one reading back to me will be a surprise. I'll let you guys know after I start playing the audio, after the audio is finished. But remember, it's played twice. Okay.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. Miami approach. American 2468. We have heavy vibration on engine number 2. Requesting priority to land.
American 2468, roger. Descend to 4000. You are number 1 for landing. Squawk Mayday on 7700.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. Miami approach. American 2468. We have heavy vibration on engine number 2. Requesting priority to land.
American 2468, roger. Descend to 4000. You are number 1 for landing. Squawk Mayday on 7700.
All right, so go ahead, our friend James Hatfield, America, up to you. Go ahead and tell us what happened here in this situation. What did you understand?
In this audio was a communication between American Airlines and HC and Miami approach. The American Airlines was declaring a mayday due to a heavy engine vibration on engine number 2. They were requesting priority to land. The HC acknowledged the information, cleared them to descend 4,000 feet, and then informed them they were number 1 for landing and request them to squawk Mayday 7700.
All right. Tiny mistake here. You said cleared them to descend 4,000 feet. Now, we are not in part 2 of the test, right? We are in part 3. And in these exercises, you are actually talking in plain English, explaining what happened to the examiner. So this is a reported speech dynamic. So because you're using plain language, you'd have to say the controller cleared them to descend to 4,000 feet. Yeah?
Yeah.
Why? Because if you say descend 4,000 feet means to descend plus 4 or minus 4,000 feet, right? To descend 4,000 feet from where you are. That would be the possible confusion here in terms of your structure, right? The way you said this. Like, let's try to put it in Portuguese, see if it's the same. If you say it, desça 4.000 pés ou desça para 4.000 pés. Got it?
Yeah.
Então, o controle liberou eles descer 4.000 pés ou descer para 4.000 pés. É diferente, sacou?
Saquei.
Aí, o to em inglês, que seria o nosso para nessa frase, né? Eu digo nessa frase porque lembrando que o to nem sempre é um para, tá? O to é uma palavra que não dá para traduzir para de maneira constante, nem o for. Tem que entender isso em inglês para usar corretamente, como a gente já passou em várias aulas de gramática e tal. O for é como se fosse por algo em seu benefício, e o to é uma direção, é como o nosso acraseado, o sentido dele. Mas, enfim, sem entrar muito nesse detalhe, na aviação, obviamente, se a gente fala to 4,000 feet, tem a ambiguidade de parecer 24, né? Porque o certo de falar o 24.000 pés é falar número por número em milhares, né? Na fraseologia. Então, quando a gente está na parte 2, por exemplo, que a gente está em fraseologia, obviamente não de maneira obrigatória, mas de maneira orientada e ideal para você se proteger ali de gramática e tal, eu sempre recomendo que você use o to bem juntinho da última palavra, que aí você pode usar assim, não é o ideal, tá? Mas você poderia falar... por exemplo, se fosse parte 2 aqui, né? Control ANAC 1, 2, 3, Roger, descend to 4,000 feet. Aí fica certo, descend to, entendeu? Descend to, eu ponho to junto. Agora, não é o que eu faço normalmente, mas é o que acaba sendo mais natural para a maioria das pessoas, tá? E aí fica uma mudança menos drástica. Outra coisa que você pode falar é ignorar sempre a preposição e aí fazer o espaçamento também com pausa. Control ANAC 1, 2, 3, Wilco, descend 4,000 feet. Aí se fosse 24, Wilco, descend to 4,000 feet. Aí eu juntei aqui, tá vendo? As pausas, elas me dão a noção certinha. Dito isso, se você entrar em material de fraseologia, como o manual da Jepsen e tal, se vocês quiserem depois eu mando para vocês, mas só dá um Google que vocês acham. Uma coisa interessante que eu já vi, que eles falam como sugestão e solução para esse problema, é você falar o parâmetro depois do to como preposição. Então você separa com outra palavra, você fala assim, Wilco, descend to altitude 4,000 feet. Entendeu? Descend to altitude. Turn to heading 220. Aí você fala turn to 220, porque 220 é uma metralhadora de 2, né? Turn to 222. Então, turn to heading 222, por exemplo. Aí vai falar 222, vai ser até melhor, né? Nesse caso. Ninguém vai. É um número muito específico. All right?
Boa.
Let's go. So now the question for you, Americo. What situations could possibly lead to an engine vibration?
Engine vibration could result in several possibilities, like engine separation if the pilot not perform some actions like reduce the engine, and the vibration can increase, and the engine can suffer a explosion or fire. And
All right. Go ahead.
in the worst case, separate from the engine nacelle.
All right. Let me give you some ideas here. Your answer was not bad from a technical perspective, and objectively speaking, it was nice. From a grammar perspective, it was good as well. From a fluency perspective, however, it was not as good as it could be if you just make some adjustments. So first things first, it's okay for you to make interjections like, it's all right. However, if you make it a lot and you put a lot of pauses that are not really controlled, it becomes a little worse. Let me try to explain that. Let's say that I'm saying the same, making an answer here along the same way you answered. All right, so the question, how do pilots handle engine, no, sorry, what situations could possibly lead to an engine vibration, right? That was the question. So let me think about it. It's a little bit of a tricky question. So verbalize your thoughts. So you don't just use interjections like but you verbalize your thoughts and you use some fillers like, let me think about this for a second. It's a difficult question. It's a little bit of a tricky one. But I think that, and then you extend words like that. Probably the pilot will have to analyze if it was a matter of whether maybe you could have a problem with some sort of maintenance that was not done properly on a specific part of the aircraft. What else? Well, it's really hard to come up with some other ideas. I guess that's it. So verbalize your thoughts a little bit. And one thing you don't want to do it in terms of fluency is what I used to have a name for that. I kind of forgot, but it's like when you have it's like, you guys ever heard about the Deadman's curve for helicopter pilots? Deadman's curve. A curva do caixão em português. Eu acho que a tradução é uma tradução literal aqui. Não é isso,
Curva do homem morto.
Crawford? Curva do homem morto. Curva do homem morto. Curva do
Ah.
homem morto no helicóptero. Na aviação, me corrijam se eu estiver errado, mas a gente não tem isso para avião, né? Curva do homem morto. Se tiver, eu tô reprovado no meu teórico, né?
Não tem.
Porque as coisas já ficam meio confusas na minha cabeça do que eu aprendi com a galera do helicóptero dando aula e eu começo a achar às vezes que tem algumas coisas que tem nos dois lados. Mas a curva do homem morto é uma coisa para o helicóptero ali, porque ele precisa de velocidade ou altitude numa referência específica, numa carta, basicamente num gráfico, que é tipo aquele, vamos supor, é uma coisa, uma tabela mais ou menos parecida com o que a gente tem de peso balanceamento para o envelope e tal, né? E eles também têm, obviamente. Mas a curva do homem morto é uma ideia de, chama-se, inclusive o Deadman's Curve é o termo coloquial, mas o termo técnico é Height Velocity Diagram, diagrama de altitude, de altura e velocidade. E o que eu falo desse sistema aqui, que eu estava falando de fluência, que eu chamo de uma curva do homem morto na fonética, na nossa interação, fazendo uma analogia, é o que acontece. Você pode falar devagar e você pode falar pouco, mas você não pode falar de uma maneira que misture isso mal. Porque se você falar devagar e pouco, que nem eu estou falando agora, o seu ritmo, ele combina com a sua fala. As pausas fazem sentido com o ritmo de fala reflexivo, igual esse que eu estou refletindo agora e tentando demonstrar enquanto eu falo. Agora, se eu falar rápido assim, e eu falar de maneira que fique um monte de pausa e eu falo rápido no meio, E aí depois eu falo uma pausa de novo. E aí fica tudo quebrado assim. Cada pausa que eu tô fazendo agora, ela maximiza a minha falta de fluência. Como é que a gente sai dessa curva do homem morto do ponto de vista de fluência? A hora que vem na tua cabeça a frase, Américo, não solta ela de uma vez. Fala ela lentamente, porque quando você tenta compensar a pausa que você acabou de ter falando rápido, você cria a próxima. E aí você fica tropeçando de buraco em buraco em fluência, entendeu?
Entendi.
Não sei se eu me fiz claro com
Não,
essa
fiz,
analogia maluca, mas
entendi perfeitamente.
mas então assim, começou a fazer e tá difícil de falar, é contra-intuitivo, entendeu? Pega aquilo que veio na cabeça e não solta rápido para tentar compensar. Solta lento. Às vezes eu sou um
Hum,
mau exemplo, porque como eu sou fluente, tenho cal 6, eu acabo falando rápido para tentar fazer com que a nossa aula fique bem densa em conteúdo, tentar ajudar o máximo possível a todos vocês. Acabo não sendo um bom exemplo e falando mais rápido do que eu devia para entregar conteúdo. Mas do ponto de vista de resposta na prova, o ideal, por exemplo, aqui não é falar, well, let me see, in my opinion, I think that the aircraft with severe problems with vibration is possibly having some sort of problem with the engines and it could lead to an engine separation, depends on a lot of things and blah. No, that's totally wrong. It's not the ideal for you to speak like this in the test, you know. If you are in the test, sound reflexive. Sound as if you are not in trouble from an English perspective, but from a perspective of reflecting upon the subject and coming with an answer. So you say, well, let me see. It's been a while since I read about this and since I thought about this, but I think that if you're having to deal with engine vibration, most likely you have some sort of problem related to maintenance, or maybe you had an ingestion, a bird strike, and tá vendo como eu tô andando devagar aqui, pondo um tom que
hum,
encaixa com essa lentidão, entendeu? Essa modulação do tom de voz junto com o tipo de discurso, até o seu gesto. É uma prova oral, né? Você está frente a frente com o cara.
hum.
Então, a forma como você está se mostrando, tipo, não, eu tô falando lento porque eu tô tentando explicar, lembrar, pensar. É isso que
Ganha tempo,
faz
né?
faz todo um arcabouço ali, onde falar lento é basicamente o natural para fazer a resposta como você está fazendo, se você fizer desse jeito, né? É meio confusa essa frase última, mas acho que deu para explicar. All right, let's go to the next one. Situation 3. It's going to be played twice. There he goes.
São Paulo Control, Qatar 6425. We have low oil pressure. Request priority landing. We have dangerous goods on board.
Qatar 6425, São Paulo Control, Roger. Descend to 5,000 feet, fly heading 080 to avoid traffic. Expect vectors runway 27 left. ILS is unserviceable. Confirm nature of cargo.
São Paulo Control, Qatar 6425. We have low oil pressure. Request priority landing. We have dangerous goods on board.
Qatar 6425, São Paulo Control, Roger. Descend to 5,000 feet, fly heading 080 to avoid traffic. Expect vectors runway 27 left. ILS is unserviceable. Confirm nature of cargo.
All right. So, Barbosa, go ahead and tell me what happened here.
Well, the pilot reported to São Paulo Control that he experienced low oil pressure and requested priority landing. And the control said to him to descend to 5,000 feet, flight heading 080. The traffic and use the runway 27 left. ILS available and asked him to confirm if it was a cargo flight.
All right. Good job. Good job. Modulated everything. Remember, if you want to simplify a little bit, go to citation speech. And when I say citation, not the airplane, but citing things, right? Quoting things. So you could say, things more generically about, you know, just painting with a broad brush, que é uma expressão legal em inglês, aliás, né? Pintar com... Painting with a broad brush. Vocês pensarem aqui nessa expressão, palavra por palavra, vocês vão entender, né? Pintar com um pincel largo. Quer dizer, o que que é isso? É um rascunho, é uma coisa de maneira grosseira, né? Você não vai fazer uma pintura muito detalhada com um pincel largo, certo? So, painting with a broad brush é a ideia de você dar um rascunho geral, fazer uma coisa mais simplista no começo. E aí, se você fizer isso em reported speech primeiro, você acaba podendo depois mencionar os detalhes de maneira segmentada em um contexto que você já deu, de forma que fica mais simples, sem precisar usar o reported speech o tempo todo, fazendo citação, quotations, yeah? For instance, let me share that strategy. Did I talk about that strategy with you already, Barbosa?
No.
No? All right. I have this on one of our PDF files, the one for the strategies for part 3. But anyways, these are the notes I have on the right side for this exercise that I made myself, and on the left side, what they mean basically, right? So anyways, left side here is what I heard. So low oil pressure, they requested priority landing, dangerous goods on board. Then the ATC said, Roger, descend 5,000 to 5,000 feet, fly heading 080 to avoid traffic, expect vectors to runway 27 left. ILS is unserviceable, confirm nature of cargo. Now, obviously, you cannot just say that like this because the examiner is now expecting you to explain in plain English. We are in part 3 after all, as we just discussed already with Crawford, I think, when I was giving him some corrections about the things he said about the numbers, right? To 4,000 feet. Anyways, so in this case, what you want to do if you want to follow that strategy of painting with a broad brush first and then quoting things is something like this. Control had a conversation. The controller had a conversation with the pilot here in this audio that I just heard. It was basically a pilot and controller exchanging messages due to a situation of low oil pressure and a subsequent priority landing. And the conversation followed developing in this situation, about this situation. So in more details, the pilot reported low oil pressure, requested priority landing, and dangerous goods on board. After that, he received the following instructions by the controller. Descend to 5,000 feet, fly heading 080 to avoid traffic, expect vectors 27 left, and the controller also told him ILS is unserviceable, confirm nature of cargo. That's it. So what I did now is I combined both things. I used reported speech, but I used it to also put myself in the shoe of the controller sometimes and the pilot. So what that allows me to do is that I don't have to be modulating everything the whole time. Now, don't get me wrong, you can do it both ways, but fact of the matter is that many people will suffer a little more. They will definitely have more difficulty. They will struggle with grammar if they try to make all the necessary modulations all the time, because then you'd have to say, the pilot reported low oil pressure, they requested priority landing, and they also said they had dangerous goods on board. After that, the ATC told them that they understood and to descend to 5,000 feet. So everything has to be modulated, right? You have to use the pronoun, said he did that, then the other ones did this, and they told them that. You have to change things. And it's not a problem on its own, it's just more difficult. So this strategy allows you to have another option, yeah, that you can as well. So I'm just sharing with you, but you did well. You did pretty well. Just trying to give you some ideas as well. All right, now the question. Captain, what can happen to an aircraft when an engine oil pressure drops? Sorry, when the engine oil pressure drops.
Okay, when the engine oil pressure drops, it's very serious because it can overheating the engine, and it can cause several damage at the engine. And maybe if the things get worse, you can lose the engine because of the lubrication system. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Did you say several damages?
Yes.
All right, careful, because
Severe
damage, yeah, damage has no plural. Damage is a mass noun. So you could say
Yeah.
severe. You have to address damage from a perspective of intensity. It's a very tricky word, to be honest. Most people don't know that. They say big damage. Damage is actually a very interesting word that you cannot use certain adjectives. You have to say severe damage, critical damage, major damage, but you cannot address damage from a size perspective like this with big, or from a quantity perspective like they had several damages, because it doesn't accept plural. Yeah.
But
Got it?
several damage is okay.
Yeah, if you say they suffered several damage, it's fine, but it would be if they had more than one part of the aircraft damaged. If it's, yeah, in the event of bird strike, for instance, it makes sense. If you have low oil pressure affecting a single engine, I don't know, maybe if the engine explodes, then you can have several damage to the aircraft, maybe different damage areas, and that could be it. Yeah. But then several, it's like that. It's about quantity, right?
Okay.
Yeah. It's not about intensity. So most times you're going to address a specific damage, and then you're going to use severe damage, critical damage, major damage, stuff like
Okay.
that. Cool. Now, Crawford, are you able to make the comparison about the three situations? Were you paying attention still? I guess you were. You're a very good student.
Of course, buddy. Of course, again.
All right. So go
Okay.
ahead and make the comparison, telling us in the end which one you think is the worst to deal with and why.
Well, today we have three difficult situations here, okay? Low oil pressure, engine vibration, and uncontrollable fire. Well, in my point of view, I believe
From my point of view.
from my
Or
point of
in my view, or from my point of view. It's weird, but point of view is like a reference from a position you are at. So it's from my point of view. In my view is like from your eyes, it's like in your, as if someone is you. So in my view, or from my point of view. Go ahead.
Perfect. Well, from my point of view, situation one is the worst situation here, okay? Uncontrollable fire, because fire could spread rapidly inside the airplane. Maybe the pilot and the crew members couldn't have enough time to deal with the situation. And, well, I believe the pilot needs to land as soon as possible and contact with the controller, request ground assistance. Okay. The other two situations, and vibration and a low oil pressure, of course, it are a difficult situation too. But the pilot have more time to deal with situations, and they could follow the checklist. Okay, try to reduce or shut off the engine in order to avoid severe damage in the engine, and they have more time to land. Well, that's it. That's my comparison between among these three situations.
My comparison.
It's my
If
comparison.
it's yours, it's something, right? So comparison is the noun, my comparison. Yeah. And that was an interesting thing here. You said you said the word maybe, but maybe the E must be sounded, which is an exception in English, right? Because there's the silent E for most words, and with an E, we don't say the E, right? Like engine, fire, maintenance, instance, a lot of words. We don't say the E, right?
Right.
In the end. But maybe is one of the few exceptions. And I think, I'm almost certain that it's because maybe it's actually a contraction of two words. May be.
Okay.
Right? And be is a single syllable word. So maybe comes from the idea of two words combined. So that's why I think the E in this word sounds. But I cannot explain why the E in other exceptions are also sounded. Like catastrophe is one that we say the E. Recipe is another one, we say the E. And I also know, the single syllable words like the, be, Yeah, these ones, obviously, because they only have one syllable with that specific vowel, the E. But other than that, maybe the French words like Apache, Pawnee, a lot of aircraft and helicopter names, right? Because
Yeah.
the American people, they love to give the names of their indigenous people to
Cherokee.
their, yeah, Cherokee, Pawnee, yeah, many of the aircraft we are familiarized with. All right, now let's go to part 4. Part 4, picture description. Hey, Jefferson, are you able to describe a picture? I skipped you in part 3 because I know you are you're having your test soon, like this Saturday. So you're joining this class with us
Okay,
more,
amigo, no problem.
more as a bystander, but I would like you to describe a picture for us here for you to test yourself, you know, with the pressure of other people here watching you. It's a little different than in
Okay.
the classes in which we have just, you know, the two of us. So go ahead and describe this picture here to us. Wait a second, I'm still trying to share. Here, what I'm doing is basically what I tell you guys to do. I'm verbalizing my thoughts. I'm speaking my mind, as you know, it's not totally silent. I'm saying, wait a second. I'm trying to find the picture to share my screen. You see? So that's what I always tell you guys to do it in the oral test itself. It's something that I have to do it very often. Because if I keep quiet, like silent, as I'm doing something here, the class will be very boring, man, as I upload the files, etc. All right, can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
All right, so Jefferson, go ahead and describe this picture to us. Tell us what you see and what you think is happening here.
Well, in this picture, it's a situation ongoing about a commercial jet airplane. Probably
An ongoing situation.
an ongoing situation happen. Probably.
Just one thing. Ongoing already means that it's happening. So you choose one or the other. You could say it's a situation that is still happening, or it's an ongoing situation.
Okay, it's an ongoing situation. Probably, actually, is the aircraft is evacuating. The passengers are evacuating off the aircraft. Probably caused by the flat tire. Maybe I see on the left left landing gear shows fire occur, and probably, like I said, it's hard landing can be caused, or a brake failure, and the passenger evacuating by the wing, and it's a abnormal situation. And I think I covered the main aspects on this picture. I can't talk anymore about this. That's it.
All right, good. Let me try to give you some ideas for that finishing sentences you used. If you say I can't talk about it, it sounds a little too rigid. And I know I share a lot of finishing sentences similar to this one, but try to put a little more nuance to that one. You could say, I can't really tell much more. I'm running out of ideas. So this will make your examiner be certain that the reason why you can't talk anything else or you can't continue is not because of your English level, it's just because you don't know what else to say. So there's a difference of saying that you can't do something in a way that it implies it's because you are lacking sufficient English or structure, grammar, vocabulary, whatever, or because you just don't know what else to say, right? So you don't
Okay.
want your examiner to be in the dark about this. So when you use these finishing sentences, you have to make sure you make it crystal clear that you just don't know what else to say. I'm not sure if there's something else you would like me to point out here. I think I'm done, but let me know if there's something else you want me to address. I don't know what else to say. So this is totally different than saying, I can't talk about this picture. It sounds a little too rigid and it's ambiguous. I'm going to be, you know, as an examiner, unsure if you are just disappointed at you or if you are actually just letting me know that, you know, there's not much else to talk about. Yeah.
Okay.
So nice sentences to use in that direction. I think I I think I basically ran out of ideas. I depleted my options here. I'm not very creative. I don't know what else to say. I think that's it. If there's something else you want me to talk about, let me know. Stuff like this. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now let me ask you a few questions about the picture. First one they always ask, it's for Americo. Americo, what do you think happened before this picture was taken?
I think before this picture was taken, the aircraft was approaching, maybe during emergency landing, and probably the aircraft was heavy, probably above the maximum landing weight, and causing an engine, causing a left main wheel fire, and it I don't know if this evacuation was prepared before, but probably the aircraft was an emergency landing. That's it.
Okay. All right. Now, Captain, what about afterwards? Imagine the picture was taken just now. What do you think will happen next?
Probably the aircraft will be completely evacuated, and the captain will be the last one to vacate the aircraft to ensure that the aircraft is empty, and they will perform some checks inside the cabin, to be certified that the checklist was completely, and the investigators will arrive at the accident scene, and the runway will be closed from the tower.
By the tower.
By the tower, I mean the HC. And the crew members will pass through interview, and that's
What
it.
else? Olha lá, tá pensando nesse
That's it.
end. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. Verbaliza, entendeu?
Yeah.
Verbaliza um what else,
What else?
né? Não deixa totalmente vazio. Que mais? What else? What else can I say here? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. E aí verbaliza mesmo. I'm trying to say things, but I'm running out of ideas. I don't know what else to say. That's what I have. Yeah. All right. Now another question. This one goes to Barbosa. Barbosa, in your opinion, what are the main challenges in relation to passenger safety during an evacuation in process? Evacuation in process? Oh, sorry. I'm misreading this. During an evacuation process. It should be an evacuation in progress or an evacuation process. It's the end of the day. I'm almost 41. You guys have to excuse me. I'm not going to pass CEMAL with 2020 next time, I think. All right. So I'll ask you the question again. In your opinion, what are the main challenges in relation to passenger safety during an evacuation process? Yeah.
Okay, I think that many of them will be very afraid of the situation and nervous, and sometimes they can't hear what the cabin crew are saying or the command voice. So it's important to stay calm in this moment. It's a little bit difficult, but and follow the instructions of cabin crew. So I think that the main challenge maybe will be follow instructions, because of sometimes many of them wants to carry their luggage with them, and they don't evacuate the aircraft very quickly. So because of the panic of the situation, to follow cabin crew instructions maybe will be the main challenge in the situation.
Okay. Just one tiny correction, and it made the same mistake twice. Maybe will be follow instructions. Maybe will be to follow instructions, because this follow here needs to be in the infinitive, right?
Yeah.
Talvez será seguir as instruções, concorda?
Yes.
O follow sem o to antes não é seguir, é eu sigo, ele segue, I follow, they follow, eles seguem, né?
Yes.
Se for he, she, it, aí follows, né? Mas então, se você quer no infinitivo, tem que ter o to ou o ing. Pode ter o ing também, que funciona como infinitivo, tá? Então você pode falar. So I think that in a situation like this, most difficult thing maybe will be following the instructions, or maybe it will be to follow the instructions. To follow. But that was the only mistake you made. Very tiny. Good job, man.
Okay,
And
thanks.
so since you are doing so well and your answer was quite fast, I'm going to keep it with you for the last part of this one here, which is, oh, actually, no, it's not the last one. It's one more question. Then Crawford will do the statement. All right. So Barbosa, to what extent can pilots rely on aircraft rescue and firefighting services, in your opinion?
Sorry, could you repeat, please?
Sure. To what extent can pilots rely on aircraft rescue and firefighting services?
No, I didn't understand.
All right,
the question.
I'll try to put it in different words, but how much can pilots rely on the rescue services and firefighting services that are supposed to provide assistance to them?
Like they can request it through the ground, and I'm not sure if I understand very well the question.
Yeah, you probably didn't, because the question is to what extent, and you are not understanding this, I think. To what extent é até que ponto? É uma pergunta esquisita pra cacete, diga-se de passagem, tá? Como assim? Eu sei lá, porra, eu tenho que cair pra descobrir, né, até que ponto eu posso confiar. Espero nunca descobrir, porra. Eu... Se o serviço de emergência de um aeroporto é bom ou não, quanto eu posso confiar nele. Vou descobrir essa porra só morrendo. Meu familiar que te diga depois que eu cair, né? Jogar praga assim para outro, porra. Enfim, a pergunta é essa, tá? Então eles fazem. Então tá. Ó, to what extent é até que ponto, até que
né?
extensão, até que nível, tá? To what extent can pilots rely on aircraft rescue and firefighting services? Eu, honestamente, responderia essa pergunta com um pouco de humor. Eu falaria, well, I never want to discover to what extent I can rely on them. But as a pilot, you just...
They are the only option.
You hope they are reliable.
Yes.
You know?
Because they are the only option.
Yeah,
at that moment.
Yeah.
So you need to trust them.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, but it probably depends on the airport, I guess. Some airports will have more sophisticated services and probably faster services. But to be honest, this is not something I ever want to to have an opinion on. I don't know. I rely on them because I'm a pilot, you know. It's like asking you, to what extent can you rely on the firefighters if your house burns? I don't know. It never did, you know.
Yes.
I mean, theoretically, they are always very reliable. They follow strict regulations and things like that. But I don't know. I really don't. So the answers to some of the questions, they are very nuanced if you think about it, you know. And I think this is intentional. They ask questions that, in some ways, will just push some people with higher level of English to defend themselves a little bit from the question itself. So one thing that I'm always trying to enforce with my students is this, you know, try not to be a victim of the question. It's not because they asked a question that you have to answer in a way that the answer is somehow knowledgeable about it. You know, you might say, look, I don't really think that question makes any sense. I have no idea to what extent I can or cannot rely on the services of an airport. You know, I'm not I'm not really checking them. I never went. I don't know any firefighters at Santos Dumont Airport. I
Mhm.
just hope they are doing things well and that if needed, they are able to assist in a very good way. But to be honest, I'm not sure how much I could rely. And, you know, I just
Okay.
hope they do a good job if I ever need them. But I don't really
Yeah.
have an answer for that question. Isso daqui serve para statements também, alguns, tá? Tem uns statements que eles vêm com algumas. Como é que eu vou dizer? Com algumas. é, Eles vêm com algumas ideias que elas já estão meio que presumidas na afirmação, né? Vamos ver se é o caso aqui que a gente vai para o statement agora. Jefferson, are you able to agree or disagree with the statement?
Yes, Mabel.
All right, so I'm going to read a statement here. You tell me if you agree or disagree with the statement, or maybe you say, I have no idea. So,
Okay.
but the instructions they give you, of course, is this one here. I'm going to read a statement and you have to tell me to what extent you agree or disagree with it. To what extent? Até que medida você, né, concorda ou discorda. All right. Nowadays, Nowadays, pilots are very well trained and highly qualified to manage real emergency situations, even if they had never had a chance to experience that problem in the simulator.
Well, I partly agree with this statement because, in my opinion, in simulator, you can practice a lot of abnormal situations. And of course, no one that situations is real, but in a real situation, you have the human factor. And during this situation, you can trust in your training and perform all the checklists and procedures to perform a good landing or perform a landing, a safe landing correction. And I believe that's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that this is an interesting statement as well. I think that this one is one that it suits well for a nuanced speech, but it depends on your level. If you want to simplify it, you just say you agree or you disagree. I think that agreeing is easier because you can kind of walk in circles just saying that the statement makes sense. If you want to do a little better, probably the best path is to disagree or partially disagree, because then you can extrapolate a little and explain the reasons why. For instance, in this case here, nowadays, pilots are very well trained and highly qualified to manage real emergency situations, even if they had never had a chance to experience that problem in a simulator. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, different pilots have different training, different companies, they have different uh, specific year-round training sessions and simulator sessions. So I don't think that this is really true. I have some considerations that I would make as I just did, because depending on the company, depending on the pilot, you know, we already saw many, you know, we've seen some accidents in the past that were related to pilot mistakes, pilot errors, and many other accidents that could have been avoided with proper training, with proper conduction of procedures and things like that and protocols. So to be honest, I tend to disagree with the statement. I think that this statement is a little simplistic. It oversimplifies the question. I think that pilots are on average very well trained, but it depends on the company, depends on the country, depends on the legislation, the aircraft, and many other things. And I think simulators are very important for training. I really don't think that this is what the statement is saying. The statement kind of says that even if they never had that experience in a simulator, they're still very proficient to handle it. Yeah, I really tend to disagree with that statement. So I'm kind of articulating ideas on top of the statement, and that's a strategy you can try to follow if you are doing very well. But I wouldn't recommend people who are just struggling to pass with level 4 to try to follow a path like this. Then keep it simple, either to disagree or to agree, but usually to agree is simpler. You can say, well, I totally agree with the statement, makes complete sense. I think that managing real emergency situations nowadays is quite efficiently done by pilots. I agree. It's hard for me to add anything on top of the statement. It's a very complete argument. That's a nice way to agree and just keep saying that you agree, with in different words. Crawford, can you do the next one, which is like in the test, they only have one statement, but I'll use the follow-up statement here with you.
Yes.
So we call it a day after this one. All right, Crawford. So this is the one I'll read for you. It's already on the screen because it's very similar to the last one.
Okay, no problem.
Nowadays, pilots would be able to deal very well with any emergency situations, even if they had never experienced that situation before.
Well, in my opinion, it's a difficult statement, okay? Because I couldn't agree with all these statements. I believe that nowadays the pilots were prepared than in the past, but it's very difficult to know if they could deal with some emergency situation.
Emergency
Situation if they didn't have the situation before in the simulator. Okay, if they didn't see this before. Well, that's it. It's difficult to talk. I couldn't answer your statement precisely.
All right, good. So you could say, yeah, it's difficult to talk about this. I hope I was able to elaborate a little on top of your statement. Yeah, I hope that suffices. Eu espero que isso seja suficiente, pode ser também. I hope it suffices. That's how I see it. Deixa eu falar uma coisa. Lembra da nossa aula de conversação última ou das últimas, daquela do grupo do ICAL 7, a galera que tá mantendo aí? Eu não tive. Você estava nas aulas últimas aí, eu acho. Eu mencionei sobre aquelas palavras onde a gente em inglês tem muito, talvez mais do que em português, a tendência de usar palavras construídas com sufixos e prefixos, né? Nesse caso aqui, enquanto você fazia a sua explanação, me veio à cabeça alguns termos que poderiam ajudar usando prefixos, né? Para fazer palavras bacanas assim de usar em argumento. Overreach, this sounds like a very overconfident statement. It overreaches a little bit because I don't think that this is the case. I think that we should not be overconfident like this. That statement is very exaggerated in my opinion. And I don't think that pilots will always be necessarily prepared to deal with situations if they never had this problem in a simulator. As a matter of fact, I watched a video today, a case study video, in which the pilot of a King Air 200 in the United States, in that case study, the aircraft crashed. And that guy from this YouTube channel that I watch a lot, he was analyzing this, and he mentioned that this pilot had, basically the pilot had a single engine failure right after takeoff with the King Air 200 because of water in the fuel line. So he basically had a flame out on the left engine, and he couldn't manage the aircraft. He couldn't control the aircraft. You guys probably saw already many accidents with King Airs when the aircraft basically flips over on top of the failing engine. Like it happened in Jundiaí many years ago, and someone taped it after the guy took off from 1.8 at the time. Anyways, so that guy had that problem with the King Air, lost the engine after takeoff and flipped over on top of the wing and crashed. And it was probably a very important factor that this pilot had never had single engine failure in full motion simulators, because they went to his logbook and he had the license. But in the United States, apparently, and I think over here as well, apparently you can have the multi-engine or I think King Air 200, well, it's a type rated aircraft, but apparently you can get the type rated Uh,
King Air 200, it is a classic
it's a
multi-engine.
class, it's a
Yeah.
multi-engine, right?
Yeah.
So he actually got the license of the King Air 200 with no time in the simulator. And when I say the simulator, no time in a full motion simulator, which would be obviously ideal for practicing single engine failure. So he was able to fly when everything was normal. But when he lost his engine, he didn't react the way he should. And he basically had that flip over scenario happening to him and he crashed. So it's interesting because I just connected the dots now when I heard this statement, because I watched this video, like, I don't know, maybe this afternoon when I was having lunch. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Any questions? Let's call it a day.
Okay.
Ok, isso aí por hoje. Galera, valeu. Bons
Obrigado.
estudos.
Obrigado.
Até a próxima.
Valeu.
Até.
Abraço.
Obrigado.
Valeu. Se tiverem alguma dúvida, pode mandar lá também no nosso grupo de WhatsApp.
Valeu.
Valeu.
Valeu. Bom te ver, meu
Valeu,
velho.
Kraus.
Valeu,
Bom te ver aí.
igualmente. Igualmente.
Eu-
Desculpa por hoje, hein, Américo, o
Hã?
vacilo ali na sua aula. Desculpa por
Nada.
hoje na sua aula lá ter
Isso.
tido aquele problema.
É... Tô com
Valeu,
aula, eu tô com
Barbosa.
aula marcado amanhã também.
Tá, demorou. Nos vemos.
Fechou?
Falou, então.
Você vai conseguir fazer a aula mais tarde, pô?
Oi?
Vai conseguir fazer a aula mais tarde
Então,
ou não?
eu tenho que pegar a minha filha, cara.
Não, beleza.
E aí eu consigo, mas vai ter que ser mais tarde de verdade. Deixa eu só
Não,
ver
não.
se minha filha
Não,
vai.
não,
Peraí.
não.
É que normalmente a minha filha dorme na casa do meu sogro esses dias, entendeu? E aí, se ela
Tá.
dormir lá, aí a gente consegue fazer a sua aula hoje ainda.
Tá, não,
Se
mas
não,
é.
aí não.
Se rolar aí, você me fala. Se não, sem
Tá,
problemas.
eu te aviso. Se for rolar, eu te falo. Aí a gente faz mais
Tá,
uma aula
mas
junto agora à noite.
prioridade é sua filha lá. Tá,
Não, mas ela costuma dormir na casa do avô na terça.
tá,
Então, vamos
mas
ver.
dá atenção aí. Eu sei que
Se ela dormir, a gente faz ainda hoje.
a gente que tem filho pequeno sabe que essa hora
Mas ela não é
depois
tão pequena mais, tem 10, quem dera. Tenho saudade do meu
Então,
bebezinho.
mas essa hora aí já começa a ficar conturbada em casa,
Não, a atividade paternal corre solta, mas se ela dormir na casa do avô, aí fica tranquilo.
não se preocupe, tá? Só
Tá.
para
Você tem filho de que idade? Você tem filho, não tem?
Tem um
Filho.
de 9 e um de 6. Um de 9 e um de
Passa
6.
rápido pra caramba. Todo mundo sabe, todo mundo fala, mas ainda assim dá mó, sei lá,
É.
esquisito, né? Cada fase que passa, eu só tenho uma, né? Cada
Aham.
fase que passa, eu às vezes fico até meio, porra, caralho,
Eu
não vai mais ser
são
aquele bebezinho.
são dois meninos, né? Então já imagina, eu tô indo à falência com esses álbuns de figurinha aí, cara.
Putz, querido. Imagina essa porra. Porra, manda esses moleques aprenderem a bater figurinha, bafo, pô. Eu
Eles
ganhava.
estão.
Eu nunca
Ontem
comprei
eles sempre
figurinha, eu
conseguiram
rapelava
pegar
geral na minha escola.
então, eles fazem isso de vez em quando. Só que
Porra.
figurinha.
Eu tinha baús e baús de figurinha, rapelava todo mundo. Eu não conseguia mais nem bater figurinha com a galera do meu horário na escola. Só tinham dois caras que batiam figurinha comigo, que eles eram tão bons quanto eu. Aí virou campeonato de paro ímpar. Quem ganhasse paro ímpar virava tudo. Aí eu comecei a ir na escola no horário da tarde, eu ia jogar basquete à noite, né, no treino. Aí eu chegava antes, rapelava uns moleques que não me conheciam que estudavam à tarde. Aí eu fazia uma armadilha, igual jogador de pôquer. Eu ia blefando, deixava ele ganhar 1 a mão, 3 a mão, 6 a mão. Daqui a pouco vamos 18 a mão pra recuperar. Eu virava tudo, fingia que eu dei sorte. Aí o cara pedia 32 pra recuperar, eu virava tudo de novo. Aí o cara começava a se tocar que eu tava escondendo o jogo, era muito bom.
Quem
Eu
diria que
rapelava
os
muita
moleques hoje em
gente.
dia fossem brincar disso na escola, né? Virou uma febre.
Porra.
Brincar
Mas eles
de
batem
barro.
figurinha?
Batem, pô.
Que
Eu não sei se
maneiro.
estão fazendo isso com
Porra.
essas figurinhas da Copa aí, né?
Bom, eu
Mas
lembro, a minha época foi
estavam fazendo isso
Copa.
com a figurinha, com umas outras figurinhas aí
A minha
que eles
época foi Copa de
colecionam.
94, depois tinha da seleção brasileira também, não era mais Copa. Tinha o álbum da Quatro Rodas. Pô, o álbum da
Tem o
Quatro Rodas eu
lacrado.
saí na porrada com o
Era um
moleque, cara.
ômega. É um ômega na capa, né?
Saí na porrada com o moleque por causa desse ômega ou de um Eclipse que tinha uma faísca saindo atrás, eu acho, do
Tinha o
Eclipse.
Santana, aquele
Tinha, era
quadradinho,
carro
né?
velho, né?
Eu tenho completo, lacrado. Eu plastifiquei, né, pra durar mais, né, pra conservar. O álbum da Copa de 94 também eu tenho.
Eu só tinha as figurinhas. Esse daí era ótimo, a figurinha era pequenininha, não era?
Aí tinha que
Esse era bom
colar, né?
demais de bater.
Hoje
Nossa, esse eu virava.
hoje tem que passar
Ele é
hoje tem
adesivado, né?
adesivo, né? Na
Eu só
época tinha que
batia, eu não
colar.
tinha os álbuns, não. Só mete roxo. Pra você ter noção, a gente fazia, eu e um amigo meu do prédio, a gente
É.
fazia as vezes que a gente chamava de aleluia. A gente ia na janela e jogava as figurinhas lá embaixo pra molecada vir igual. Sabe que nem tinha aqueles programas do Silvio Santos que ele jogava dinheiro na galera lá com o
Sim,
aviãozinho? A gente
sim, sim.
fazia isso com figurinha no parquinho. A gente ia
Cara,
na janela. Ah, eu vou fazer aleluia, e jogava as figurinhas. O moleque daqui a pouco acumulava um monte, a gente fazia uma confusão lá embaixo só jogando figurinha, que a gente tinha muita, cara. A gente rapelava muita gente.
hoje um pacotinho desse aí tá R$ 7 cada
Tá
pacote.
maluco. Né?
Então,
Eu nunca
tem que ir
comprei.
trocando mesmo, tem que ir trocando, porque não dá pra comprar, pra completar,
Eu
são não
saí
sei
na
quantas,
porrada por causa das quatro rodas, cara. Fui
são
bater com
várias
o moleque
seleções.
falou que não valeu porque o sinal já tinha batido, quis pegar a porra do eclipse dele de novo. Aí, aquela época, né, ver muito filme do Van Damme, já tentei dar um chute na cara dele, já começou aquela
Ah,
porradaria, aí fomos dois pra coordenadora. Aí a mulher mandou: Isso não pode, bater a Vera não pode. Ela não falou assim, mas falou isso, né? Não lembro o termo que
sim,
ela
sim.
usou, bater valendo a figurinha não vale. Aí eu sei que o moleque, na hora de dividir as figurinhas, que ela repreendeu a gente, todo mundo batia figurinha valendo,
Ah,
mas enfim. Aí a mulher lá, a coordenadora, mandou a gente separar o que era de cada um. Eu sabia lá qual era a minha, não tinha nem álbum. Só que eu queria a porra do Ômega lá, ou do Eclipse, não lembro. Aí eu pegando, porque eu tinha virado, porra, era pra ser minha. Aí o moleque: Essa daqui é minha. Pegou, fiquei com uma raiva. Falei: Filha da puta,
cara.
mal perdedor do caralho, sem honra.
A escola hoje em dia até estipulou um dia certo para eles levarem, poderem levar as figurinhas, porque eu falei, eu já imaginei, né, que fosse da briga, né? Ele colocou o mais velho, né, colocou o álbum na mochila e levou as figurinhas. Eu falei, vai dar confusão, né? A
Ah,
molecada vai
foda.
querer trocar no meio da aula.
Ah, é lógico.
Aí a escola estipulou um dia lá para poder levar e trocar.
Demorou. Vou lá. A gente